All right, so I'm going to be using the OMDB API as a third-party data source, right? That is going to allow us to query for a list of movies, of TV series, of all sorts of entertainment information, as a list of movies that might match a particular search criteria, usually either by either an actor or genre or the title of a movie, and then it returns a result set that matches our criteria. I'm going to be using a paid subscription to this, and usually you have to apply to these APIs. And so I would suggest, for your own project that you try and find an API that suits your needs as early as possible. Sometimes there's some delay on getting permissions to use that data set, and also make sure that that it's going to serve our purposes. So the API it's very easy to use. It exposes the data set at this particular URL, and all the requests, you have to provide the user key or an API key that you either pay for or that you get from the author, and then you can provide all sorts of parameters, such as if you know the ID of the movie that you're looking for, you can provide it as a parameter I. If you know the type that you want, whether you want a movie or series or an episode. You can also do open-ended search queries. If you say S and then maybe the title of the movie, it comes back with a result set, right? So anyway, so I've applied already for this key, and let's see if I have it here. There it is. Here's an example of the query. Right, notice that this URL has the API key attribute there. See that API key, and this is my key. Don't use my key. And also notice that it's using the query parameter S, right? That allows us to provide an open-ended search string. Right? In this case, it's Batman, and it comes back with a JSON response. Right? Now, the JSON response is it's a JavaScript object notation object that is formatted in JSON, and it has you can see this for the curly brackets. It has 3 elements at the root, of which one of them is a total search results, that tells us how many movies met our criteria. Right, there's 306 movies. The response was good, and this means that there's 366 movies that match my criteria, of which I'm only they only come back with a default subset of 10 items at a time, right? The API allows us to paginate as well. Give me the first page, the second page, the third page, right? It allows me to go fetch more movies, right? Of which the first 10 are provided here in the search array, and that contains a subset of JSON objects under there, right? Which each JSON object has a title of the movie, the year, the IMDb, the type, and also a poster, which you can use to go fetch some artwork for that particular movie. By knowing the IMDb, you can actually do a second query. Right? Notice that this query is coming back with a result set. Right? And usually these results are very they're summarized. Right? They give you a very limited amount of information about each one of the results, enough to perhaps render maybe a list, right, of elements that meet your search criteria. But if you have the ID, you can do a separate search. Let's paste this here. If you have the ID, you can copy that, and in a subsequent query, you provide that ID using the I attribute parameter here. And if you do that, you can get more information about that particular item. Right? In this case, I'm getting more information about Batman Begins, the year, the rating, the release, the genre, director, writers, plot, actors. Also for other information, ratings from different sources, the IMDb source, for the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic ratings. Yes? And perhaps even more posters and more information that you can get. So using these particular queries, right? You can build an application around these two queries, right? Notice that none of this is we're storing in our local database, right? Typically, if we can build an application where folks could just peruse the entire remote data set, right, without ever using our local database. Only if we need to remember that somebody reviewed a movie or liked a movie or hated a movie or whatever, right, or bookmarked a movie, then we would need to store that somewhere, and that particular usually would be in our own database. No, we have to make some relationship saying that so-and-so likes that movie, right? That we would need to create maybe three entries in our database, right? Perhaps a user, maybe a movie entry, and maybe a review object or record that says this person just reviewed that movie. Yes? So the only place to store that would be in our own database. Yes? But let's first discuss the fact of being able to interact with this API from our application, right? So let's build that using these two endpoints, right? These two RESTful endpoints.